boy.
Get some sunscreen on?
No.
A little bit more.
There's that summer heat wave drawing kids outside in swimsuits. They're soaking up the water at the pool, the beach, and of course also then they're soaking up the harmful rays of the sun. So are you willing to slip, slop, and slap your children? Believe me, it's all for their own good. As our doctor in the house, Dr. Robert Haber of University Hospitals, joins us to talk about sunscreens and how best to protect your children's delicate skin. Slip, slop, and slap. Good advice?
Very good advice.
What does it mean?
Well, slip, slop, and slap is actually a technique that's been used in Australia where in Australia there's a tremendously high incidence of skin cancer. And slip, slop, and slap is a billboard advertising campaign for slip on a shirt, slop on some sunscreen, and slap on a hat. And it's been very effective in changing the Australians' behavior in terms of their sun protection.
Well, how are we doing here in the good old US of A in terms of protecting our kids?
Well, probably not quite as well. This particular study that you talked about came out of Nova Scotia, where the parents of about 1,000 kids were interviewed on how they protected their children from the sun. And actually, it's not too bad. About 35% of parents are protecting their children. They're using one of those techniques, either putting sunscreen on their kids or having them wear appropriate attire. And what we like to recommend is that sunscreen be applied to the entire body about 30 minutes before leaving the house in the morning, reapplied every 2 hours, reapplied after lunch, and of course try to stay out of the sun between 10 and 2 and wear protective clothing.
And also, do we want to reapply it after they go into water for an extended period of time?
That's right.
You mentioned something also about 30 minutes before they get exposure to the sun. And I had heard that before. Is that because it takes a while for those chemicals to kind of get in sync and work?
That's right. The sunscreen takes about 20 to 30 minutes to really soak into the skin and have its effect be maximal. So the wrong time to apply sunscreen is after you arrive at the beach or after you arrive at the pool, because you've got a critical period of time where a severe burn can take place.
Yeah, and burns can be painful, of course, but is it true that we are actually, as a child especially, doing permanent skin damage with a burn?
The damage to the skin is something that's remembered by the skin and stays with the skin forever. So yes, whatever sun exposure you've had will add on to your lifetime exposure. So what we want to do is really avoid the burn. We know that a single burn may significantly increase the risk of skin cancer later in life. We want to avoid the burn at all costs. But just sun tanning is also a damaging process to the skin. It will increase your risk of skin thickening and wrinkling and other cosmetically disturbing changes later in life.
Well, certainly a hot subject these days as we go through our heat wave, and we've got a caller on the line with a question for you, Dr. Haber. Good afternoon. Your question. Hello, do you have a question for Dr. Haber this noon on protecting your children's skin from the sun? Well, apparently they're rethinking their thoughts there, but I've got a question for you while we do have another caller on the line. Go ahead.
Yes. A coworker of mine recently was diagnosed with skin cancer of the lips, and I was wondering what can be done to protect lips and other sensitive skin.
That's actually an excellent question. And there are a number of products that you can do. People forget about the lips. The lips are actually very important because actually a skin cancer on the lip is a much more severe location than most areas of the body. They'll spread to other areas of the body much more readily than a skin cancer on your shoulder, for instance, or your forehead. So you do need to protect your lips. The simplest thing is to use a lip
balm,
a lip
chapstick
balm,
type
like
thing?
a chapstick or other similar product that has a number 15 sunscreen in it. They're available from most of the cosmetic companies as well as, just in every store. And that's nice to reapply frequently. And again, get your kids to apply that as well.
Yeah, you're right, because oftentimes that sunscreen, they're going to gloss right by the lips.
Regular sunscreen tastes awful, so,
exactly.
So you want to avoid the lips with that.
Okay. We also want to give a phone number that our folks, because we're running out of time, don't have time to take any more calls. But those of you who do have questions for Dr. Haber or anyone at the University Hospitals is providing this number, 795-0002 or 1-800-552-6336. All about kids and sunscreen and how to protect that very important, delicate skin. Thank you, Dr. Haber, for being with us today in our Doc in the House segment. We'll take a break and come back with more of News Center 8 right after this.